Hey, what's up guys? We're jumping into Cinema 4D once again, and I'm going to talk about splines. So we just came from modeling. It's this button right here, and there's so many different options. You might be overwhelmed when you first look at this list. You're like, oh my gosh, what is a B-spline? Well, here's how we can explain a spline. It's your time to be God and create something from absolutely nothing. Let me explain. And that was very wrong of me to say. You can't be God. So a B-spline here, for example, I'm creating this, and it's always going to be smooth. No matter what I do, no matter what I click, it's always going to be smooth. We have a start point and an end point, and we can change all these points, of course, after we've set them by selecting them. If you want to move a point, blah, blah, like this. Also, if I can go to another spline, let me show you another one, like Bezier. This is always going to be a bell curve. And it's going to, if I hold down, I can make it smooth, or I could just make it an abrupt line like this. You know, there's also a freehand where I can just draw. That's pretty cool. Now I got a bunch of messy lines on my computer. So let me go ahead and select these and delete them. Actually, I'm going to select two of them and delete them. I'm going to keep one to show you that you can switch the types here from all the different splines, or B-spline. Switch it back to linear, you can switch it back to cubic. This is really a place for you to come and play around with these and really understand what they are. Now let me explain what they do. You just might be like, okay, cool, splines, you're making lines, but what do you do with these? Well, it's actually pretty cool. So let me restart by deleting that spline, and I'm going to go to the top window view. It's very helpful when we're trying to create the splines, just because we're looking at them flat. I'm going to go to B-spline, and we're just going to create some random points, and that's good enough. Let's go back to the regular view, which is perspective. And now what we have to do is use a modifier, such as a sweep nerb, to actually do something to this spline. So if I grab a sweep nerb, this is going to actually take a spline and use it as a path, and then we're going to take one more spline and use it as the actual shape of the path. You might not understand what I'm saying. That's totally okay, because I'm going to show you. Let's grab the spline and parent it as a child to the sweep nerbs. Nothing happened yet. We need to grab another spline, so like a circle. And we can change the plane to ZY or XY. I'm going to go with ZY. And if we parent it here, underneath the sweep nerbs, you can see what's going on if I actually put on the correct shading, garage shading. And we've got a ribbon looking piece of, well, that looks really weird, right? And you're like, what's going on? Well, actually, it's my plane, if I did there, the correct one, XY, which I should have done in the first place. It's all correct now. Very cool way to get started here. So if I want to edit this, I go to the spline. And the spline was actually the path, right? So we use the circle as the body. The spline, go to top view. And let's turn it back to the correct, lines or something. Now I can adjust each point of the spline like this. If I back out, I can stretch them to make them longer. I can do this point as well. And so now I'm making some sort of Harry Potter snake-like creature. And you'll see here in a sec, if I go back to the real mode for perspective and we turn on garage shading, I've got this whack snake tube looking thing, and that's all using the spline feature and the sweep nerbs. So you get an idea there. You really have to play around with this to understand it and get used to it. So what I did, go back through that, created the spline from the top view, and then created the circle as a shape. And of course, in Cinema 4D, you have so many attributes you can adjust. So if I select the sweep nerbs, you've got a little different stuff like rotations, which won't matter on a sphere. But you could animate this actually coming on like a snake. So we could put our play at the beginning, do this keyframe deal. Let's turn off the start growth, jump in 50 frames, turn it to 0, and we get this, this snake growing like this. can have it, also fade away like that. A lot of cool stuff you can do with the Nerbs. Again, there's a lot of here. Don't be overwhelmed, but actually play around with them. They're really fun, and there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with them.